for joining us. I'm Sonia Burke. It's election night. The polls are now closed and election results are being tallied. In Maryland, the top of the ticket is the governor's race, and Montgomery County has played a key role in the gubernatorial candidates' campaigns. Over the past 2 weeks, Republican Larry Hogan and Democrat Anthony Brown have crisscrossed the county courting voters, and their respective parties' political star power has played a key role in trying to get out the vote. In Bethesda, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie campaigned alongside Larry Hogan.
You know, you'll have all kinds of people in the last couple of weeks of the race in a tough state like this demographically who will tell you that it can't happen. And I'm here to show people I'm living proof. It can not only happen once, it can happen twice. And it's all about what kind of job you do as a candidate, then what kind of job you do as a governor. I have complete confidence in Larry and his ability to win this race.
We're happy to have his support. It's great that the Republican Governors Association believes in this race. We've got several recent polls that show it to be a tie, and we're thrilled to be here this morning.
Anthony Brown has received the support of President Bill Clinton, President Barack Obama, and he recently campaigned in Silver Spring, where I asked him about Hillary Clinton's support and what they have in common.
Look, Hillary Clinton is a well-known name, and because she's been a great public servant. We share a lot of the same values, fighting for women and families, and expanding access to quality health care, and empowering women and lifting them up out of poverty. That's why Hillary Clinton and I both together, support increasing the minimum wage.
And now, continuing our look beyond the ballot, we're going to spotlight the achievements and impact of some of the local officials in Montgomery County who are preparing to leave public office. And we'll introduce you to the next mayor of Gaithersburg. We begin with Cherie Branson, who for the past 9 months has served District 5 on the Montgomery County Council. Susan Kennedy has her story.
Cherie, you are wrapping up your almost 1-year stint here as a council member, stepping in for Valerie Irvin when she stepped down. Has it been what you thought it was going to be?
It's been great. It's been sort of all that and more.
Tell me why. What's been so great about it?
There have been a lot of surprises. Maybe the biggest surprise is just to have people call me council member.
Good morning. My name is Cherie Branson. I represent Council District 5.
That's huge.
Talk a little bit about what made you decide to actually take this position for the year-long stint that you were offered. What was it about being a council member that attracted you?
Well, I've been in politics pretty much all my career, and really at the time, what I wanted most was to do something other than what I was doing. I didn't, the gridlock and the dysfunction on Capitol Hill was really kind of taking a toll on me. For years, being able to really get nothing done, it just wasn't who I was, and it wasn't what I wanted to be a part of anymore. And I really saw being here as a way to be a part of getting something done, moving things forward, and right in my own community, right in my own neighborhood.
What types of things have you enjoyed working on the most while you've been here?
Well, White Oak has meant the world to me, because I really was very happy to be a part of moving forward the discussion in White Oak. Will be important for years to come.
The schools get what they need.
Really enjoyed my time on the Education Committee. Had no idea that the council was so involved in education, and yet not so involved in education, and learning where the lines are between the council's responsibilities, the board's responsibilities, the school systems, headquarters responsibilities has really been quite eye-opening.
So no regrets that you're not able to actually have run for this position. Do you wish you could have run for it when it's all said and done?
I made a promise, and the promise was to be a placeholder. And I really believe what's wrong with politics and what's wrong with how people view politics is that they don't believe the promises. So I want people to know that if I make you a promise, I'm going to keep it.
So what will you do with your time when you're done? After the beginning of December, when you no longer have to be here on Tuesdays for a council session, what's next?
I probably look for a job.
During your time here, what would you say was your proudest moment?
Maybe the proudest moment took the 10 Mile Creek vote, because that really didn't have anything to do with my district. Everybody wasn't happy that in democracy, everybody doesn't win. You don't get your way all the time. You know, what you do have to get to is something where everybody doesn't feel as if they lost.
So have we seen the last of Cherie Branson here at the Montgomery County Council, or might we see you in the future perhaps on this side of the dais testifying in front of the council?
Well, you never know, right? I mean, this is a place that I feel comfortable in. It's a place that I would like to return to in some capacity. I don't think, you know, I've spent my life in politics. Nobody's seen the last of me.
In the next hour, Cherie Branson will join us in studio for our live election coverage. Another county council member who is not returning to the council is Phil Andrews. The long-serving Andrews has represented the District 3 County Council seat for 16 years. And he recently sat down with Susan Kennedy to talk about his departure and his career.
Tell me how you're feeling. You're winding down your last several weeks here at the council. You've been here for 16 years and you're saying goodbye. What's it feel like?
Well, I'm doing my best to run through the finish line, finish strong, and I'm really pleased that the council passed unanimously the public financing bill that is the only measure I've worked on all 4 terms here at the council, starting in 2001.
This measure is one that can revolutionize and transform elections in Montgomery County.
And I'm you know, spending time with people here, talking to the staff and my staff and other colleagues.
I'm Phil Andrews, and I serve the 3rd district of the county.
And I'm working to make sure I complete all the duties of a council member.
So no county law applies to the school system.
While in office, Phil Andrews never missed a council meeting. And as evidenced in his relentless support of campaign finance reform, he fought for the issues he believed could make a real difference in the lives of residents in Montgomery County. Case in point, legislation for smoke-free restaurants.
And it really is incumbent upon us to protect workers when there's a clear hazard like that. And so by an 8-1 vote today, resounding vote, the council took this action.
Well, that had been an issue that others had worked on as well. It wasn't until 2003, though, that we had the votes to get it passed, and I pushed that bill very hard. And we were the first jurisdiction to pass a smoke-free restaurant law, and then many other jurisdictions followed suit.
Banning the smoking in the restaurants, what has that meant to you?
Well, it means that everyone can enjoy eating dinner, not having this smell that overcomes you, and also not having it on your clothes or in your hair.
2 other issues that Andrews says he is especially proud of are the reform of what he calls the county's broken disability retirement system and the hiring preference for people with disabilities.
Whereas the program targets individuals whose main goal is competitive employment and who will benefit from an extensive period of training. Congratulations to all of you.
He's also known for his support of the red light and speed camera programs. As a member of the council's Public Safety Committee, Andrews says those initiatives are both working to make Montgomery's roads safer.
Well, the red light cameras and the speed cameras do work, and they do get people to slow down. We've seen a reduction in collisions where we have them. It's really important that they're well used, and that the police department, I believe, has done a good job in placing the cameras where there's a documented record of speeding or where there are many pedestrians, or both. And we all need that reminder now and then, so that it's enough of a fine to prod people to change their behavior without being punitive.
Known for being a non-conformer, Andrews frequently stood alone on several issues that were mostly fiscal in nature.
This is the 2nd year in a row of 6 3/4 to 9 3/4 pay raises are excessive and out of line with what other folks are getting.
Though he has served 4 terms on the council, he was elected president just once. He doesn't take any of it personally.
And did what I thought was right, even when it was very difficult to do so.
Phil Andrews.
And says as an elected official, you don't want to make promises that you can't keep.
I did cast a number of votes where I was the only one against a number of labor contracts that I felt were unaffordable.
Is there anything in particular that you wish would never have happened?
I wish the council had not overridden the voters when they made their decision about ambulance fees. I think that was a low point.
Basic public safety services should be tax supported and not fee-based. And
When the voters made their decision in a referendum, that should have been respected and not overridden. So that's the thing I would have most liked to have seen changed.
Phil Andrews took his reputation as a fiscal steward to the campaign trail this past year, taking a shot at the job of county executive.
Politics in Montgomery County shouldn't be about developers or political action committees. It should be about what matters to you. What counts are the things that you care about.
Andrews came in third in the primary, but says he stands by his decision to run and doesn't rule out a second go-around.
Well, I felt that I had the experience to do a very good job as county executive, having been here for a long time. I think it's helpful for someone who has served on the council to be in that position because the council is a strong council and the county executive needs to work very effectively with the body.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Berliner. Councilmember Andrews.
Well, thank you.
And I felt that the big issues facing the county needed to be addressed at the county executive level. Our competitiveness, our labor contracts, which drive our budget, our effectiveness in Annapolis. And the county executive, I think, needs to be in the forefront of that.
And what he thinks is the biggest task the next council faces? To improve competitiveness to ensure a sound fiscal future and to pay close attention to how we grow, keeping in mind the importance of the agricultural reserve.
When you wrap up your term here as a council member, what would you like your legacy to be?
Well, I hope it will be that I made a difference in working for the people of the county, that I listened to everybody, gave everybody a fair shake, and did what I thought was right, even when it was very difficult to do so.
Coming up on Beyond the Ballot, an interview with Attorney General Doug Gansler. And later, Phil Andrews joins us live in the studio as our election night coverage continues. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
Welcome back. I'm Sonia Burke. Gaithersburg City Council member Judd Ashman is preparing to take on a much bigger role in public life as he's scheduled to be sworn in as the next mayor of Gaithersburg on November 10th. After 7 years on the city council, the opportunity to become the city of Gaithersburg's next mayor occurred for Councilmember Ashman when Mayor Sidney Katz submitted his conditional resignation because he's running unopposed for the District 3 County Council seat.
I'm looking forward to not only continuing Sidney's tradition and traditions that go back before Sidney in getting things done and leading a very collegial body, but also initiating some new things.
Like what? What kind of new things do you want to initiate?
I would like to see the city embark on a signature project on the east side, either in Old Town or Lake Forest or the fairgrounds, something to revitalize this area, to bump up the local economy where it needs it, in the older parts of town.
Another tradition that the future mayor will continue is leading the Gaithersburg Book Festival, an event that he founded and that has put the city on the map as a cultural destination. Although he grew up in South Florida, he now considers Gaithersburg his home, and he wants to make its residents proud.
I love the city. It's been so good to my family and me, and I want, I treasure the opportunity and will always do my best to represent the city with distinction.
Outgoing Attorney General Doug Gansler is a Montgomery County resident who recently met with Susan Kennedy to talk about his career and political life.
Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Attorney General. Winding down your last few weeks in office, talk a little bit about some of your accomplishments while you've been there for the past 8 years.
Probably the most significant accomplishment was the mortgage foreclosure settlement, where I was actually president of all the attorneys general at the time, the National Association of Attorneys General, and we reached an agreement with the 5 major banks, JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, and we got $1.5 billion into Maryland to keep people that otherwise would have been foreclosed upon in their homes. And it really helped change the economic market and, of course, the housing market here in Maryland.
You're also a big proponent of protecting the environment, the Chesapeake Bay. You did a lot of work in that area. Tell us about that.
Well, protecting the Chesapeake Bay was probably my priority project when we were at the Attorney General's office, and we're never going to get it back to where it was in the 1600s, but we should be able to get it back to where it was 50 years ago. And so we really ratcheted up the enforcement mechanism, actually going after polluters and really making sure that they stopped polluting and paid significant fines. We also did a number of things on the legislative front. For example, we got chicken litter to energy to be a tier 1 resource, so that we will ultimately be able to take the 500 million pounds of chicken manure that goes into the Chesapeake Bay every year and convert it to power. So that's a big deal that we did. I think the biggest thing, though, was really changing the culture, changing the way in which we look at our environmental enforcement efforts and making sure that the companies that protect the environment are protected, but those that violate our Chesapeake Bay are held accountable. This is Doug Gansler. I'm running for governor.
Why was now the time for you to run for governor, and what do you think happened? Why did the campaign not turn out the way you had hoped?
Well, I think it was the time to run for governor in the sense that, you know, the Attorney General of a state is uniquely qualified to become governor, probably the most qualified person to become governor, because they're involved in every branch of activity for state government. You know, I had run the state's attorney's office in Montgomery County. I had run the Attorney General's office in the state with 467 lawyers, and I thought I could take that experience and effectiveness to the next level as our governor. But basically it was the establishment wanting to protect their anointed person, the person they wanted to coronate as the next person for whatever the reasons might be, and they're pretty obvious what they are, and that's sort of what happened. So, you know, you go forward.
As you leave office, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the next Attorney General?
We have some really big problems in Maryland. I mean, the biggest problem, obviously, is our economic problems that we have in Maryland as all our companies leave and go to other states. Our tax base, therefore, continues to dwindle as we lose our jobs to other surrounding states. And the response has always been, well, let's just tax people more. And, of course, the problem there is it's a never-ending cycle, and we lose. You know, the minority achievement gap just haunts me when I go to some of these schools in Baltimore City, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and see that children have to go to these schools in the 21st century in our state. It just makes me sad, and that we need to be able to fix those. So, and the environment, clean the Chesapeake Bay, and these other issues that I talked about during the course of the campaign really drove me to want to be governor, to fix those problems. That didn't happen.
The biggest lesson you've learned? What would you say you're taking away from all of this?
Well, I think, you know, people are motivated by different things, and, you know, I really believe to the core of my being that if you do the right thing and you do it for the right reasons and you can articulate what those reasons are, people may or may not agree with it, but they'll respect what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think that's what I've tried to live by.
Coming up on Beyond the Ballot, we'll visit the Rockville Library with a long-serving state senator. And later, live election results as our Vote 2014 coverage continues.
Hey, mister, down here. You illegally passed the stop school bus. I'm placing you in timeout, and this timeout means big fines, plus you really could have hurt somebody. That's why school buses are being equipped with video cameras to help kids like me stay safe, so respect the bus.
Welcome back. I'm Sonia Burke. Montgomery County Clerk of the Circuit Courts Loretta Knight has seen a lot of change in her 30 years at the courthouse. Now she's preparing to retire.
It's a wonderful experience. It has been truly wonderful. The court has been my love for many years. I love the court. I love the law. I love dealing with people. And to be able to be the clerk of the court and to be able to help the public and try to get out to the public exactly what the clerk does. I've been in the court for many years, actually it'll be 30 years this August. And I started in the assignment office in 1984, and I worked my way up from the assignment, and I became manager of the civil department under the clerk and became a deputy clerk, and I served there for many years until 2006, when the clerk of the court, Molly Rule, decided to retire. And so she supported me, and I ran for election and I was elected, and then I had to stand for election again in 2010, and I was elected. I didn't have any opposition in 2010, so it made it nice.
So what's next for you?
Well, you know, I have done and continue to do a lot of community outreach, and I feel this is time that I can do that more. I can extend my time to do some more community outreach. I'm very active in my church. I'm chairman of the council for my church, and as well as chair of the conference of circuit court clerks. So I think I'll spend that time now in helping people and getting involved.
Or politics in your future, or is this it?
No, probably not. I'm not really a politician. I'm just someone who loves my job, and as part of my job, you have to run for election. So if I come across something that I have to run for election, I won't hesitate, because I know when I ran for election this time, I truly had to step out of my comfort zone. But I was so glad I did. And I feel that by having someone run for election, you truly recognize that you work for the public. And so don't forget that when you get into your job.
If you live or work in the city of Gaithersburg or the city of Rockville, chances are you know State Senator Jennie Forehand, who has served District 17 for 36 years. She's retiring this year and reflecting on her inspiring political career. Susan Kennedy recently caught up with the senator at the Rockville Library.
Now, you actually chose the library for this interview. You wanted to do the interview here at the Rockville Library. Tell me why.
Rockville had really needed a new library for a long time, and they were trying to figure out where would it go. Someone had said, oh, well, let's have a Macy's or a Target, and I said, well, why not move the library here? It needs a new home. It's really the only town center that we know of that is anchored by a library, and I think that speaks volumes about our community.
We went together to provide this opportunity for all of our citizens to come and be able to say thank you. Not farewell or so long, but thank you.
Talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments that you're most proud of. There's so many things that you've done. I know one of the biggest issues that you fought for was transportation, and you really were behind the ICC and getting that project through. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the idea for the ICC came up, and so I wound up trying to be a real advocate for that. And all the NIMBYs were out there. People who lived nearby did not want it.
Good morning. Did you ever think this day would come? We were hoping it wouldn't. No.
And but you know, here we have it today, and it's wonderful. And I wish it didn't have to have tolls. That was not in the original plan. Really pleased that I played a kind of a major role in getting that approved.
And recently, one of the things that I know that you brought to the attention of lawmakers is the issue of human trafficking. What are you looking to do here?
It's a terrible thing. And it's going on right here in some of our hotels right here in Rockville. And so I wound up passing legislation and making much more severe penalties, because prior to that it was just a slap on the wrist.
On behalf of the City of Rockville, we'd like to present you with a key to the city.
So you're wrapping up 36 years of service. What do you think is the most pressing issue right now in Annapolis as you walk away?
Well, I think the funding is always something that's really important. We don't want the taxes to have to get any better. I think transportation is a lot better. It can improve even more, particularly public transportation. I want the Corridor Cities Transitway built. I think that's something our community needs here.
And from when you started to today, Montgomery County is not the same county that it was. And has that been challenging through the years to adapt to all the different needs and wants?
Yes, and particularly in Annapolis, because those of us from Montgomery County are just looked upon as being like on another planet. And in some respects, we are. I'll tell you, one of the things that really was I was involved in, and people have made jokes of it and laughed, and I laughed with them, but one of the first things I did, there was an ashtray on every desk, and I went around and gathered them up and hid them all underneath the radiators. I did it because my father had died of lung cancer, and he never smoked, but he worked in a room with people that did. I knew the damages, and I didn't want that to happen to anybody else. When the Orioles Stadium, the new one, was built by the state, I asked them, tell me about your plan for no smoking in any of the public places. And they kind of looked at each other and they said, well, we haven't talked about that. But I said, okay, if you get back to me, your budget is due the first of next week. You've got a meeting tomorrow. You get back and tell me that you have passed this bill, that you will have no smoking in any of the public areas, and I promise you we'll pass your budget as is. And they did.
If you have one piece of advice to leave with your colleagues as you leave your position as senator, what would it be?
I think to dream a little more. And some things appear that they're not possible at all because of money or because of other circumstances. And I think also is to make friends with people and to find like-minded people. You don't have to be in public office. Find a legislator or someone in public life that you can communicate with and share your ideas.
That concludes our look at Beyond the Ballot. Stay with us. Our live election coverage begins right now.